welcome to the new video. And despite the atrocious weather that's been in my country for the last few days, we're gonna have a look at this this car, which is the MG4 XPOWER, and let's have a closer look at it. So we have, I think, slightly different lights to what I did have in the classical MG4, slightly different signature here, but they look actually quite nice and premium, I have to say. We are losing the air curtain here at the front, which I really don't understand why they did it, because it is such a significant part of aerodynamics for the good efficiency, and it doesn't create any advantage for performance. But we still get this opening for cooling down the battery. And now we can go from the side and have a look at the infamous, absolutely fake brake calipers, which are really huge. But if we have a look from around here, you can see that they are indeed fake, and you have a classical steel brakes. And it's actually the first thing that you would have to upgrade on this car is the brakes, particularly the calipers, the pads, if you want to create a hot hatch sort of a car from this car. And also the tires, because we have just the GT tires, Bridgestone Turanza T005 EV, so electric Grand Touring tires, so you would have to change that as well. And you can have a look at the amount of caster we are running, so that's nice. The car weighs at 1878 kilos, and just for the tires, we are running the tires of 235 45 R18 in the front, and also a 235, where is it, 235 45 R18 in the back as well. Let's also have a look at the rear of the car, where the new thing is this roof spoiler, or these two small roof spoilers, or wing, let's call them. On the classical MG4 you don't get them, here you do get them. And then there's a typical rear of the MG4, which is a fat rear, I have to be honest. It's really fat, and you have a fog light down here, a camera here, yeah. And now let's also have a look into the boot, which is a decent capacity for daily driving. And under the floor you get the charging cable and the air compressor, so yeah, that is all right with the boot. And well, I guess that would be about it to the closer look. Now let's get in the car, let's hide from the weather, and let's see how it drives. Oh, well, hello and welcome in the MG XPOWER. Well, as you can see, well, maybe you cannot see it well, but the weather has been absolutely atrocious this week. So my original plan was to take this car for 2 laps on a track day, but the track day got cancelled, and I have nothing else basically to do. But I did some driving with this car, long distance driving, motorway driving, B-road driving, a little bit. It's all on the wet road, but I'm gonna try and give you my experience with this car anyway. But first, maybe let me talk you through the interior. So it is not changed compared to the normal MG4. It's still very minimalist, kind of practical, big spaces. The only thing that is different is the stitching, which is red or orange it seems, and these much nicer front seats, which are the combination of synthetic leather and Alcantara in the middle. Yeah, they feel quite good, and yeah, they are nice, but not more sporty than in the normal MG4, I think. Then another few changes are here in the infotainment, which is nice, like from the MG4, but you get some of these sporty features. I'm going to try and find it. So you have this track mode here, and you press this button of track mode, and now you have 2 options to choose from. You have the circular route or street roaming. The circular route is for a track day. There is a timer for a track day, which is very cool, and the street roaming is just for the B roads. And if I turn it on, what it does is that it sort of makes this sort of animation of where you drive. It makes it makes an animation of the route you're driving, and it actually can create quite a nice images with the route you're driving. And then you can have a view here at the system parameter statistics, and here you can see the power percentage curve, the speed time curve, and the g-force distribution. And also what changes is here in front of you, you get this g-force distribution ahead of you as well. So these are the changes that you get to the car. And well, yeah, the MG, they were thinking also about the track day with this car, even though this car doesn't have that many improvements in terms of drivability. So of course, what is the biggest feature of this car is 435 horsepower, and I think it was 600 newton meters of torque. So massive power under your right foot compared to the normal everyday MG. And it is a rapid car, 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds. Top speed, well, it's an EV, so only 180 I think it was, but still 3.7 seconds. And I have to say, when you drive some people that they haven't experienced this sort of power, it actually tickles their brain, the sort of acceleration they can get with this car, or they experience when they are sitting in this car. So that's actually pretty cool. And now I'm in the village, I'm not gonna do it, but then we're gonna do 0 to 100 even despite the weather conditions, right? So yeah, the power is absolutely fantastic, but what also comes with this performance is a shorter range and bigger energy efficiency. So I achieved quite unpleasant for me, I have to say, because I'm also paying for it, in between 24 and 25.6 on the motorways, which is quite a lot actually. It gives you a range of only somewhere slightly above 200 kilometers with this range. So I wasn't very happy with it. Of course, there is a colder weather of around 10 degrees Celsius and loads of water on the road, so there is more sort of a friction, or yeah, more resistance from the road. But still, I mean, yeah, you will have to recharge quite often with this sort of efficiency on the motorway. But now that I'm doing the B roads, I actually have to say, here on the B roads is decent. I mean, I'm doing 20.2 at the moment, and the accumulated total that I have for 308 kilometers that I've done since yesterday is 22.9. So you can take 23 kilowatt hours as an average efficiency that you will get from this car. In the city you can get much better. You can get even 10, 13 if you drive very sensibly. So in the city it's okay, but other than that, 23 is what you get, right? So yeah, now maybe you are thinking, are there some other changes? Well, I think there is a little bit stiffer damping or springs. More it feels like springs are a little bit stiffer. The car can be quite uncomfortable at times, of course, because it's trying to be a hatch, and there is some stiffness. But I have to say, it's not that much stiffer from the normal MG4, and there is still some sort of a softness in the damping. So yeah, it's not as stiff and as crashy as, for example, the cab chassis in the Renaults, but it still remains with a little bit of softness to it, right? And so the performance, now we're on the open road. I put down my foot, and look at this, 90, 100. This is absolutely crazy the way this car accelerates. You can go from 70 to 130 in around, I don't know, 2 point something seconds. Yeah, so look at this, I'm doing 90, 100, 110, 120 in around 2 seconds. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. And I'm gonna have to slow down because I've seen there is a car here in the forest. It probably understeered in there. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, there is a car on the roof. So yeah, the weather has been absolutely atrocious, floods everywhere. Really bad weather for this car, for enjoyment of this car. We have a four-wheel drive that helps you in the corners. You cannot really drift this car because it's only a four-wheel drive. You cannot put it in the rear-wheel drive, so there is no way trying that. But well, maybe let's talk about the feeling of the car. So you can get this car for around 40,000 euros, I think it is. And well, to get this sort of a performance for a 40,000 euros for a common man who just wants to accelerate in the straight, maybe doesn't care too much about the corners, is, yeah, it's a great value. I mean, and it's certainly great fun for people. I mean, if I drove someone here, it was instant smile with the acceleration. It tickles their brain, and yeah, so they can be quite happy with it. So in this aspect, it's a fine car to drive, and in aspect of acceleration, it is the competition to the new Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which is, I think it's slower to 100 kilometers than this, but then it's much better in the corners than this car. But actually, what you can think about this car is a starting ticket to creating a great electric hot hatch by yourself. So you can improve the brakes, which weren't improved here. As you know, there are these infamous fake bigger calipers for the brakes. So you don't have any improvement on the brakes. You can improve them by yourself. You can put different discs, different pads, different calipers even. You can then change the tire of this car. This car comes with the Bridgestone electric cars, the Turanza T005, which are the GT tires for normal sedans, but then they are remade for this electric driving, right? And so yeah, you can do many of these things to change the car. You can change the damping, yeah. So and of course you have to invest some money into it, but with that investment, it's about the same price, maybe close to the Ioniq 5N that you will get. Now this is really not nice. I'm gonna have to turn it off. So if you really think about it, as a starting point with having this massive power, it's actually really nice. I mean, you get 430 horsepower for a very actually cheap price for a new car of this performance. So that's actually quite nice, I have to say. I would definitely put some semi-slick, even maybe some smaller wheels, some lighter wheels, would help the dynamics, also the range. So yeah, there's quite a lot I think that you can do. And in terms of charging, you can get this car charged at the power station in 27 minutes is my experience, and the top charging speed of 139 kilowatts during charging. So I think that's quite decent. And so this idea that I'm telling you about the starting ticket to a rapid hot hatch, actually I think that's the biggest selling point of this car, because if you want a really good hot hatch, electric hot hatch, you need to buy the Ioniq 5N. That's a car that's developed amazingly for the track, whereas here you pay much cheaper. That one is 70k, the Ioniq, this one is 40k, but you need to invest if you want it to be a very good track car, right? So yeah, that would be about it. Now I'm just waiting for a place where to try and show you the 0 to 100 kilometers, but I think I will just put it here as a video on its own. And now maybe let me come to the likes and dislikes of the car. Well, let's start with the dislikes. If you really don't need this sort of a performance of 435 horsepower, you should just definitely don't buy this car. I mean, the range is worse because of this power. You can get a long range model which just takes you further, and well, it's just more reasonable. It makes more sense, that car, to me. And it's rear-wheel drive. I mean, I know people love all-wheel drive, but actually with rear-wheel drive you can get slightly more fun on an open road. Then in between the dislikes, there are the normal dislikes, which I also had to the classical MG4. So no air conditioning in the back, which at the days like this, when it's rainy, the rear windows are fogged up when you drive somebody. So yeah, also I don't like this bit of central island here where it's not very comfortable for your knee, but that's the way it is nowadays with these electric cars. They don't get this central console sometimes all the way, and the interior just feels boring and bland and very dark, and yeah, it's not creative at all, you know. The materials are not feeling the highest quality. Of course, they don't feel cheap. They're actually soft touch materials, but I don't know, it just feels too minimalistic, this interior, to me. And I don't actually like. Oh, did you see? So there is so much slippery, the roads. They are so slippery that even at normal speeds you can get into slide. So yeah, that's funny. That's funny. So I cannot review this car properly. I'm very sorry. I wanted to go on the racetrack and see if I can beat the Renault Megane RS Trophy, which I drove in the wet there, but I won't be able to. And then, well, in between the likes, I have to say the performance is just, you get used to it, and you like it every time you overtake. You just press in, the car goes like crazy. It's fantastic. The four-wheel drive just hooks the car in this acceleration. So that's a lovable thing. Then I think the acoustic isolation is quite okay. On the motorways for an EV could be slightly better, but it's a comfortable car to drive anyway. And despite the slightly stiffer springs, the car is still, I mean, reasonably comfortable, let's say. But if you're on a really bad road, it just moves around with you all of the time, right? And yeah, I guess that would be about it. So there are things to like, there are things not to like, but overall I think this is a really good starting car for creating an EV hot hatch yourself, right? And the other things I need to mention, so 435 horsepower, and the weight is 1.87 tons. And yeah, I guess that's about it. That's the most I can tell you in these conditions, in this weather. And now let me show you the 0 to 100 acceleration and some other accelerations maybe as well. And that's about it to this video. So just to sum it up, MG4 XPOWER, definitely an interesting car, that if I had money I would actually maybe buy it and create an EV hot hatch with it, or from it. And that's about it to this video. If you liked the video and found it useful, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos are coming on very soon, and I hope to see you in the very next one. In the meantime, take care of you and goodbye.